Welcome, everyone, to the Inspire Life podcast. My name is Michael. I am your producer and co host. And today I'm really excited to have Lois Koffi here. And we are going to be learning more about her and her story. I met Lois a couple years ago, probably 2 or 3 years ago, through some mutual friends and some business partners. And I was able to actually come and hear you speak and do some public speaking and hear your story. And it's powerful, with that, I don't want to give anything away. So if you want to just maybe take us back, and tell us about kind of your journey of health and fitness, obviously, and also your healing journey as well.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you. I so appreciate you and all that you guys stand for at Inspire Life. I fell in love with you guys immediately and your space and what your foundational principles and core values are so in alignment with mine. So I know that we connect on many levels. So I just want to give you guys a quick edification and shout out.
Thank you.
Definitely humbled and honored to share my story today. And it's actually even more humbling now because of what's going on with this pandemic. And it brings me back to so many different stages of my life. I'll just share more of my story and come full circle. And my hope today is to encourage you, those of you that are listening and watching, and just to be able to give you a safe space to be okay with things right now and where you're at, because that's super important. Your mindset right now, and I know we're all passionate about mental health, so I'm so grateful to be able to share my journey as well as my mom's journey. I'm going to talk about her in a little bit. So I was born and raised in the Midwest. I do live now in Southern California. Whoop, whoop. I'm a SoCal girl. And, but they always say you can take the girl off the farm, but you can't take the farm out of the girl. So I'm very proud to be a farmer's daughter. And I was raised by a single dad, grew up on a farm, total tomboy, loved the rough and tough, just go outside and be a free spirit. I created my own universe being raised by a single parent. And at the same time, little did I know that my passion for health and mental health specifically was born with my life. My mom had been diagnosed late in the 1950s, early 60s with mental health issues. Eventually that led to being diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. And it was painful for our family. It was during a time growing up in the middle of nowhere. They didn't have people like you guys, right? They didn't have the Michaels of the world in their life. And so being able to look back on that and partner with people like you means more to me than you know. I really wish I could get in a time machine and take Inspire Life and all my healers and all my gurus, including myself, and go back and give my mom those tools, because she basically lived a life of depression and anxiety and pharmaceuticals and shock therapy and a lot of things that, I don't even really know because I never got to know her. And I was the youngest of four, and she left roughly when I was like 5 or 6 years of age. And that was a loss. There was a lot of grief there. And I don't know that I fully recovered until much later in life. And so I think as I grew up, like the only kid in my town, with divorced parents, it was a lot. It was a lot. But I learned resiliency during that time. And it's really, in a lot of ways, brought me to where I'm at today. So when I fast forward, college, I played sports, and I didn't realize it, but one seed of trauma that I carried with me was, number one, I was a perfectionist. Number two, I wanted to be awesome at everything I did to seek approval and became kind of a people pleaser. I'm getting into deep psychology here. I hope that's okay.
That's totally fine.
But then the other thing that I learned is I quickly became addicted to coping mechanisms like sugar. Mm-hmm. And I know you guys teach on gut health and mental health, and I didn't know I had digestive issues as a kid. I thought it was normal. No one wanted to talk about poop issues. I was totally oblivious, because again, I kind of raised myself and was fiercely independent, and I didn't want to talk about stuff like that because it was embarrassing, right? No. And so I just got into college, got into sales right out of college. I was in real estate, became very, very successful, was making tons of money. So guess what? I found this place called Starbucks. I'm sure y'all heard of it. And I had no problem dropping $5 here, $10 there, buying all the scones, the muffins, the starches, the carbs, and essentially converted sugar. And I was drinking the venti chai tea lattes and just slamming those down all day, every day. I got to the point where I had so many coffee meetings that I probably spent $30 a day without even flinching, without even realizing it, and never knew that what was happening was I was slowly eroding away my gut health. And I'd always be running to the bathroom after, going to Starbucks, which is, not going to paint any pictures what that was like, but it wasn't healthy. And I threw myself into that journey, and I have a saying. It's part of my logo of Lois Koffi Enterprises. And I just did a podcast yesterday with this title, Your Daily Choices Define You, and they define your future. And they truly can be coming from this unconscious place, which is really important to share right now because a lot of people are going through fear, anxiety, job loss, or loss of some sort. I'm not even necessarily talking about loss of life. I hope no one here has lost someone to COVID-19, but you lose your normal routine, your everyday routine. My kids are home from school. There's all these things happening, right? And we have to adapt. And not everybody's equipped for a quick adaptation on the fly. And so you really got to be kind and gentle with yourself. And how I learned that was actually through the Great Recession. I'm having deja vu. Michael, I don't know how young you were, if you were impacted by
I think I was in 11th grade when that happened, 2008, correct? So
yeah.
I was still in high school, so I was mostly oblivious to it.
Right. Well, I got the full experience, the full Monty, if you will. I was going, hard in life. Again, I had that addictive personality. Worked hard, played hard, was being wined and dined, eating and drinking whatever I wanted, doing Ironman triathlons, drinking a lot of Gatorade. Again, all of this is that sugar hit. And I didn't realize how much my health was taking its toll all of those years. And then when the recession happened, I had all my businesses in real estate, all related into that arena. So I also learned a valuable lesson from that experience. I had 3 companies and all of them went away. All of them folded. I lost everything. I even had my bank accounts cleaned out. My wages were garnished from the IRS. I had my car repossessed the day before my 30th birthday. And I had this image of when I was 30, I was going to be a millionaire. And so again, I went from making multiple 6 figures, living high on life, traveling the world, to being what I now call shelter in place, because all I had was a bicycle. And oh, by the way, I did have my own home. I was living on the kindness of friends, sleeping on floors, futons. I know there's a lot of people this month. I just saw a statistic. I forget how many millions of people are behind on their mortgage, and this pandemic is barely just started.
Right.
And so I can relate to that experience as well. I mean, not being able to pay my mortgage, not being able to pay my car note. My cell phone was turned off because Verizon likes to get paid, right, every month. And at that time, I didn't know you can defer your loans. I didn't know you could defer things. I was so scared and so traumatized. I was like paralyzed and shelter in place. And all I can think of, well, what now?
Yeah.
And thankfully, I had amazing healers and teachers in my life. And what I discovered was I felt depression for the first time, or what what we believe to be called that diagnosis. And again, I'm not a doctor, all of that kind of stuff, but I was really scared because I'd wake up and I was exhausted. My face was puffy, my digestion was at an all-time low. If it could even get any lower, I don't really think so. But I was like, oh my God, am I going to be like my mom? Am I getting sick like her? All of these fears that came through. And I decided, thankfully, the universe sent me a naturopathic doctor in my life. She was a friend. I had no idea what the heck she did because I, again, was raised from a highly pharmaceutical-based more of a correction versus prevention model. And I was scared, and I told her, I'm like, I'm freaking out right now. And I didn't even have the money to work with her, but she, for whatever reason, she said, you know what, I want to help you. So she ran a bunch of tests, and it turned out I had leaky gut syndrome, candida overgrowth like you wouldn't believe, and ultimately a bunch of food sensitivities. Like I remember I would eat all the carbs and starches that I loved in the world. Now all of a sudden I would eat them, and then I'd feel exhausted and want to go to bed at 8 o'clock in the morning. All of this was just so scary and so weird, but she took me by the hand and said, you know what, this is not a big deal. You can overcome this. You are not going to be diagnosed with schizophrenia. I mean, she just really was saving grace, and she opened up my world to true health, true, what I believe to be defined as true holistic healing, and getting to the root cause of your health issues. And it took me a long time, because when you're a sugar addict and a caffeine addict for a really long time, you can't check into a 12-step program for Sugarholics Anonymous or Caffeine, Holics Anonymous. And it was at that point that I decided, you know what, I need to kick sugar, even though it's 8 times more addictive than cocaine. And I want to see if I can get rid of coffee in my life. It took me not 1, not 2, but guess what, Michael, it took me 5 years just working through my own stuff to get rid of sugar in my diet, as well as coffee. But I will tell you what, after I went through that journey, and I went through other stuff. I had my firstborn child. I had severe postpartum depression because, of course, I was highly toxic. I had only just learned about healing naturally, and not healing, but overcoming those choices that I had made for 30 years had collateral damage and created and manifested a lot of toxicity within me. So it wasn't going to be an overnight success story to rid myself of that. And I know you guys teach that.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, thankfully, when I got out on the other side of that, with a lot of support from, therapy, a lot of acupuncture, Chinese herbs, but ultimately the thing that helped was kicking the sugar and the caffeine habit. And I had never, this was 2011, I had never been so healthy in my life. And the other lesson that I learned through that journey that I want to share today, that really, really want to open people's minds to, especially if they're watching this and they've lost their job, or their sales are down, or they're just in this place of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to me in my life now? The good news is, if someone like me, who is homeless, who went through bankruptcy, foreclosure, and car repossession, even after having massive success, these events don't define us. And you want to find good mentors and support. I offer up free webinars now because of the pandemic, letting people know my story much more vocally, so that they can find ways to diversify, find new skills. I had to learn new skills. I was shelter in place before this pandemic was ever even, a blip on the screen. I couldn't drive anywhere. So guess what? I had to use the internet for the first time to virtually sell stuff. There was no Zoom back then. There was only Skype. I created teleseminars. I ended up creating an online college course, which was just totally a miracle. I mean, you can create miracles right now, is what I want to share with you guys today. Because if I can overcome sugar and caffeine addiction, come out on the other side, and the best version of myself, the best health I ever had in my life, in 2011, so that means I was about 33, 34 years old. You can learn new habits right now. You can create new skills. You can maybe actually, for the first time in your life, be truly in touch with who you truly are and why you're here on this planet, because that's what happened to me. So through that process, I really became a new person. That whole transformational metamorphosis cocoon butterfly emerged, and I flew, and, I became really, really more well-rounded as a salesperson. And so, now to this day, I've built multiple streams of income. The recession taught me that. I've been able to coach thousands and thousands of people, both in lifestyle and in sales and in business. Because as you know, you can't be truly at the high level of a salesperson or a business owner's game if your health is down here.
Mm-hmm.
You're always going to be, pardon my French, you're always going to be half-assing it and not really living your truest potential. So, I built my belief, I created a new vision, and I was never more grateful and more excited for all of that loss, all of that grief, all of the pain. And thankfully, because of that, I call it shelter in place, but the 2008 recession, I was able to slow down, take the time that I needed and deserved to heal and to grow and to really, really get to that place of resiliency and excellence. And that's what helps me now. I don't know if you know this, Michael, but not only has this pandemic happened, but I lost my brother in February, and my mom just passed this month. And, it kind of renewed my purpose for my message and how to help people grow through things instead of just go through things and turn to sugar, turn to coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
This is the time for us all to work together and help each other grow through things and not just go through things. So that's, again, I could probably go for 5 hours. I'm going to stop and see if you have any questions for me.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'm sorry to hear about your losses. It's never easy. It's tough, and I thank you for letting me know. I'm here for you. Dr. Mel's here for you. So, we love you and everything that you do. And, your story is so powerful for so many reasons. Some of my biggest takeaways, just from what you said, one, when you worked with your naturopathic doctor, and how she just instilled that belief that you can overcome this, like you can do it. Sometimes we feel hopeless in our journey. And when we have belief, not only, in ourselves, but someone else is believing us too. I mean, we're communal beings, right? It's community belief is powerful. So, I thank you for sharing all of that. And then, the other part that, that we're all about is it takes time too. Like you mentioned, it's not necessarily easy. It took you 5 years to get over sugar, which, sugar itself, I mean, we have to make a podcast just about that because it's a scary drug. I'm going to call it what it is. It's frightening. But at the same time, persevering and really getting through that. And two, with your perspective on things, right? With, learning, not, when you got essentially knocked off your feet, completely knocked down, taking the time to reflect and learn from it rather than just, falling into a downward spiral per se, with that. And then on top of that, the health concerns that followed. I just thank you so much for your resiliency and for your belief, not only in yourself, but also in our species and in our community and our society, because I know that you have impacted, thousands of people through your coaching and through everything that you do. So, with that, tell us more. You mentioned it's Lois Koffi Enterprises. That's the name.
Yes, so it's really cool. Over the past, having kids, I didn't even really get to share that. Having kids, when I did during, starting essentially right out of the recession and getting married, starting a family, at that time, my vision was to launch my own professional speaking. I wrote a couple books. I'm a speaker and writer and a coach. Those are my 3 monikers, and I'm so passionate about helping people through stories and then, of course, through my training. And when I was in real estate, I was before the crash, I was one of the top sales reps, and I was one of the highly, empowered trainers in all of the offices that I was ever in. And I had created my own sales team. So I found that I fell in love with sales training and coaching and helping people achieve all that is possible in their career of sales and business. And so when the kids came, I pivoted and I shifted, and I wanted to be a mom and I wanted to grow. So I worked for other companies and was recruited to actually recruit and sell for different companies. And I got to really build that resume and that muscle of sales training through that. So fast forward to last year, I decided to officially launch Lois Koffi Enterprises. That's meant to be sales training for sales teams and entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, as well as a supportive community I have online coaching, I have one-on-one coaching, and I have a podcast. I have a lot of free tools, and I'm going to be publishing more ebooks to help people increase sales results, especially during these difficult times, how to build resiliency, and also partnering with amazing people like you that I'm going to interview on my podcast, as well as how do you build a healthy, thriving lifestyle at the same time, because I'm humble and I don't have all the tools. I have my sales training tools. I have my time management and productivity tools. I get off on time management. I know that sounds crazy, but I just love helping people, create their day before it even starts, and then how to improve and get better. So those are, I have some certifications that are unique, and I have some tools that I created still that I use from the recession and that I taught through my college course to MBA students. So I've basically created my own Koffi sales formula of how to get more done in a day than the average person and not compromise your health while so doing. So those are like the summary of Lois Koffi Enterprises. I do, people have hired me to do professional sales training, and also I do a lot of free speeches or free motivational talks. And of course, because of the recession, I'm just giving you again another silver lining of what is possible for you, whoever's listening to this. I learned how to monetize webinars, and so I'm able to leverage Zoom right now like nobody's business, and to work with people all over the globe. I've actually gone global over this last year as well.
Very cool. And the biggest part of your message that I really love, and why we are just kind of on that same plane of understanding, is that it circles around, right? It's all holistic. Everything is interconnected, is what I'm trying to say. When it comes to you as showing up as, a mom, and showing up for your family, and showing up for yourself and your health, and showing up for the people that you serve in your businesses, right? It really comes down to fully embodying who you are and doing the things that are going to best serve yourself, because when you're at your best self and your best health, you're going to be able to best serve the people that you are working with and serving. So really, really cool. Before we wrap up today, I want to ask this. I ask this to every guest on the show. What is maybe the one message or one takeaway, or just the one thing that you want our listeners to walk away with from today's episode?
That's a great question. There's a quote that I say a lot in my talks, and I'll say it a couple times so people can write it down. It's really my moniker that speaks to me and makes my heart sing, and helped me get through the recession and really just keep going no matter what life throws at me. Okay. So it's discipline your disappointments and never give up. So I'll say it again: discipline your disappointments and never give up. And I'll ask, what do you think that means to you, just off the fly? Since you asked me a question, I'm going to throw one back at you.
Yeah, I think when it comes to disappointments, and when it comes to things not necessarily going according to plan, that's it's an opportunity to reflect on it and recognize what your perception of it is, and maybe be able to flip it and find an opportunity in it. That's what I hear when you say that. And as long as you are doing your due diligence, and you are, putting in whatever work it is that needs to be done, and you're also working on yourself at the same time, and you don't give up, you can succeed. You can ultimately, create the life for yourself and for your community that you really desire. That's what I heard, at least.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. That's it's important for me to I'm always wearing my coaching hat, and always asking and being curious what things mean to you, because that's the most important thing too. Is we all have a brilliant mind. We all have a beautiful spirit. We all have a heart and a consciousness that contributes. We all are one, right? And so yeah. I'm not right, you're not right, I'm not wrong, you're not wrong. We can all come together, especially during this time, and share without fear of judgment, and have compassion, and see how we can, inspire the world together.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Lois. Final question. How can our listeners get in touch with you for whatever reason they may want to?
Sure. There's two websites I'm going to give you, and I don't know if you can share those links as well. I'll make sure that I get them to you, because the one's pretty simple, but I can, both of them could easily be misspelled, but it's my website. My home site is www.loiskoffi.com. So it's simply my name, loiskoffi.com. And then my new exciting website is my podcast. And it's going to be, of course, you guys will be interviewed on it as well. And it also allows you to, if someone wanted a free coaching session, I offer up a certain amount of those every month as well. But the podcast is brand new and it's coming out, and I'm really excited for people to tune into that, because again, it's free, it's inspiring, and it gives them a taste of who I am. But it's called Healthy and Wealthy and Wise is the actual name of the podcast. It's on Podbean, but my website is simply healthyandwealthyandwise.com. So not the word and, just the letter, and people can find it and share it and be inspired and encouraged. That would mean the world to me.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to checking it out myself. Again, Lois, thank you so much for being on the Inspire Life podcast today. And to all of our listeners, until next time, keep inspiring. Thank you.
Hey there, did you find value in today's episode? We sure hope so. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Also, hop on over to Facebook and join the Inspired Living community. There, Dr. Mel and I share health and wellness tips to help you live your most inspired and thriving life.
And as always,
keep inspiring.